Today's video is going to be about describing and identifying good tone. What is it? If you ask people what good tone is, they'll tell you that they know it when they hear it, but can they describe what it is? How does it work? What exactly are you listening to? On brass instruments, it's the same as on vocals. It's maximum efficiency. Maximum efficiency. You can't get any more efficient than maximum efficiency. Now, if you go to a vocal coach, they'll tell you something very interesting. What are you aiming for? And they'll tell you my pear isn't very pear-shaped. Pear-shaped tones. That's the ideal with a singing voice. And if you apply that to a brass instrument, what you're doing is you're not hitting in the center, you're hitting as low as possible on the note without bending the pitch downwards. And at that point, the note opens up and you're playing with maximum efficiency. Now, I have taught many struggling kids who were having problems getting a desirable sound out of their instrument. And even when I've played in community bands, I'll have the guy sitting next to me saying, "How are you getting that sound?" And I always say, "Meet up with me later and I will show you." Now, in that particular instance, the guy's tuning slide was out that far. Like he only had about another inch and a half to go. It's like, whoa, why is you? Well, that's very common with students. They're lipping up, they're not playing efficiently, and they're very often playing up on the top of the mouthpiece. And it's a case of the position of the mouthpiece on the lips is pretty much irrelevant at that point. It's how you're conceiving of, how you're making the sound. Now, this works on all brass instruments. It works on horn, it works on trumpet, it works on cornet, trombone, euphonium, baritone, tuba, you name it. And it's not so much sticking the mouthpiece on your lips and blowing, it's how you're conceiving of the sound, which is 10 times more important. Now, in many ways, vocal coaches are far superior to brass instructors because they can explain things far more clearly, and vocal instruction is a lot more proactive than brass instruction. Brass instruction is like, "Oh, let's get this mouthpiece ring on here and spray halitosis and tighten the corners and blah, blah, blah," which is nonsense. The corners don't do anything. If you take infrared video of a player as he's playing, you'll see that the corners aren't doing anything. They're dark. They don't light up at all. It's baloney. It lights up here, and that's where you feel the burn. And it lights up here. That's where you feel the burn. But it's mostly this area here that's doing the work. The problem with brass players is what it feels like very often is not what's actually happening. Like when especially when you're playing in the high range, it feels like you're tightening in the corners. You're not. You're playing falsetto in the high range. Just the difference between going and going And most brass teachers don't tell you that one. They omit that one critical piece of information. That they're playing falsetto and they've changed their set. They say, "Oh, I'm using fast air." The only fast air is coming out their arse end. If you think fast air is useful, it's great for screaming, but it makes for crappy tone. It's good for playing jazz, but if you actually listen to the tone, it's crappy. It sounds great, but it's crappy. And in jazz, it's like that. It's loud and brash and crappy. And if you think I'm being too hard on brass players playing in the high range, stick a piccolo trumpet on their face and say, "Okay, now scream on this." Have you ever heard somebody scream on a piccolo trumpet? It sounds god awful. You don't scream on a piccolo trumpet. It sounds harsh and unnatural and bad. But that's it for today. A few little pointers there. If you're having problems getting a good sound, look to somebody who's a really good player, pull your slide in and match it to theirs, and then play as low on the note as possible. And that will get you there. Do that every day. Long tones. Play down at the bottom of the pitch just before it bends down. And trust me, you'll get there. Happy honking!